Welcome to District Command Central, your go-to source for the latest news and updates on the Washington Commanders. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell, so you never miss a play. Dan Quinn might have finally stumbled onto something that could reignite the potential of one of the Washington Commanders' most intriguing defensive pieces. Cornerback Mike Sainristil, listed at just 5'10" and 183 pounds. Sainristil is the smallest player on the Commanders roster, and on paper, that has always seemed like it could be a limiting factor, but in reality, it never has been. From the moment he stepped onto the field as a Michigan product, Sainristil's football IQ, toughness, and tenacity have always set him apart from his size. The issue is, 2025 has not exactly been kind to him. After showing flashes of brilliance in previous seasons, questions about whether his stature might actually be a liability have begun creeping into conversations. And while many fans and analysts wrote him off as a casualty of the team's defensive regression, there are subtle signs that he may just be entering a turning point in his career, especially under Dan Quinn's current scheming going into the 2025 season. The general expectation was that this would be Sainristil's year to thrive. For years, the plan has been clear: move him to the slot corner position where his natural instincts and ability to read the quarterback could shine. Injuries forced him to play on the outside in 2024, an unnatural fit for someone of his size against bigger, stronger receivers. But with Marshon Lattimore and rookie standout Trey Amos healthy and ready to anchor the perimeter in 2025, Sainristil was expected to slot inside, a move that many believed would unlock his true potential. The expectation was that his play diagnosis, anticipation, and speed would make him a disruptive force in the heart of the defense, creating havoc in passing lanes and supporting the run game. In theory, it was the perfect fit, almost a Cinderella story waiting to unfold in the nation's capital. The reality, however, has been far messier. The Commanders' defense, which was considered a strength in 2024, has regressed dramatically in 2025. It would be unfair to pin all of that on Sainristil, but as part of the secondary, he has undeniably been swept up in the chaos. Tackling, in particular, has been a concern. After missing just 7 tackles all of last season, he has already missed 6 in 2025, pushing his missed tackle percentage above 10%, up from roughly 7% as a rookie. These aren't catastrophic numbers, but they are enough to draw attention and fuel skepticism, especially from a fan base desperate for consistency. His coverage skills have remained solid, but the tackling struggles are a symptom of a defense in flux, a team trying to find its identity without clear leadership at several key positions. Now, in a twist of fate, Sainristil finds himself back on the outside, following injuries to both Lattimore and Amos. His first game on the perimeter this season came in Week 11 against a well-prepared Miami Dolphins squad, and the results were a mixed bag. The Dolphins came into the game heavily oriented toward the run, often lining up in 12 personnel with double tight ends, and sometimes adding an extra offensive lineman to create monster formations. This left Sainristil often matched up against tight ends like Greg Dulce, a matchup that highlighted the contrast between his size and the physical demands of the position. Yet despite these challenges, Sainristil displayed the kind of savvy that has long defined his career. While he might have appeared to be playing his usual slot role at first glance, he was technically responsible for the outside receiver. This subtle difference impacted his aggressiveness and run support, as he rarely left his coverage assignment to make tackles in the box. That might sound limiting, but it also speaks to the discipline he brings to his assignments, a quality that often gets overlooked in highlight-driven narratives. When it came to coverage, Sainristil held his own. The speed and agility of receivers didn't seem to faze him, a notable achievement given that he's often giving up both height and weight against opponents on the perimeter. One of the few times he was tasked with covering Jalen Waddle, arguably the fastest and most dangerous weapon in the Dolphins' arsenal, Sainristil tracked him all the way across the field in blanket coverage, narrowly missing an interception that would have been a game-changing play. He did get beaten on a deep cross at one point, but that was more a failure of support from safety Quan Martin, who struggled to make the necessary tackle after a moderate gain. Overall, Sainristil's sticky coverage allowed Jacob Martin and Jonathan Jones to record key sacks, as Tua Tagovailoa's first read was often on Sainristil's side before he had to move on. These moments illustrate a player who, despite physical limitations, leverages intelligence and positioning to influence plays far beyond what raw stats might suggest. Tackling remains the gray area. Early in the game, he missed a clean tackle on Dolce, and later, he was physically overpowered by Julian Hill after giving up roughly 70 pounds. A reminder that matchups on the perimeter are unforgiving for a smaller corner. However, his impact on goal line defense was significant during Washington's second goal line stand. He helped slow Ollie Gordon to and then contributed to a critical coverage that forced an incompletion on fourth down. These plays are less glamorous than interceptions, but are critical to the outcomes of tight games, and they highlight Sainristil's situational awareness and ability to rise to the moment. Sainristil's most memorable moment, however, came on special teams, and not for positive reasons. Late in the fourth quarter, with primary punt returner Jalen Lane out, Sainristil was called on to field a punt from Jake Bailey. This was his first NFL punt return and only the third since 2020, and he muffed it, handing Miami a golden opportunity to seize the game. In regulation, the mistake was mitigated by Miami coach Mike McDaniel's puzzling decision to forego a short field goal attempt, followed by Matt Gay's missed kick. But the play highlighted the broader inconsistency of the team's special teams units. Even in a chaotic game like this, the incident didn't erase the encouraging signs Sainristil displayed on defense, where his discipline and awareness were evident. The Week 11 game against the Dolphins serves as a microcosm of the Commanders' 2025 season, a mix of promise, misfortune, and unfulfilled potential. While the offense sputters and special teams make costly errors, there are glimpses of competence and brilliance on defense, especially from players like Sainristil. He looked more comfortable outside, and for fans hoping for a breakout performance, that is a positive signal. Whether this translates into a long-term solution at the perimeter is still unknown, but the early signs suggest that with careful coaching and proper support, Sainristil might finally carve out a niche that maximizes both his skills and his intelligence on the field in a league obsessed with size and physical dominance. Mike Sainristil is a reminder that heart, preparation, and football IQ often matter just as much as 6'2" frames and 200-pound builds. Dan Quinn's defense may still be a work in progress, but it's clear that he sees the potential in Sainristil to operate effectively even in challenging matchups. The small corner, who was once pigeonholed as a slot specialist, has shown that he can adjust, adapt, and influence games from the outside, a trait that could prove invaluable as the Commanders attempt to right the ship. The season has been messy, the results uneven, but the narrative surrounding Sainristil is quietly shifting from overlooked rookie to perimeter problem solver. He's carving out a path that few anticipated. For fans willing to look beyond the box score and the occasional missed tackle, there is a story of resilience, intelligence, and potential that continues to unfold week by week. If Washington can stabilize its defensive front and tighten up special teams, Sainristil might find himself in a position to quietly dominate the middle of the field, while occasionally shining on the outside. The missed tackles and special teams gaffes will be remembered, but so will his smart coverage, his ability to shadow elite receivers, and his growing comfort in diverse roles. The 2025 season may have been rough, but for Mike Sainristil, it might just be the crucible from which a new, more confident version of himself emerges. And for Dan Quinn, the challenge now is clear: harness this potential, protect him from overexposure in vulnerable matchups, and let the football intellect and instincts of Sainristil shine. The narrative is still being written, but for a player whose size has always been considered a limitation, the story of Mike Sainristil in 2025 is one of opportunity, adaptation, and perhaps the quiet beginnings of a renaissance. If you're enjoying the coverage, make sure to smash that like button and drop a comment with your thoughts on the Commanders' latest moves. We want to hear from you. In a stunning turn of events that has sent shockwaves through the NFL world, the Washington Commanders have officially parted ways with head coach Dan Quinn. Following their disappointing loss to the Miami Dolphins, sources close to the team suggest that this decision was not sudden, but rather the culmination of mounting frustrations within the organization. Tensions that had been simmering beneath the surface for weeks. The loss to the Dolphins, a game many thought the Commanders could have won, seemed to be the final straw for team owner Josh Harris, who reportedly made the call late last night after reviewing the film and consulting with his front office. It's a move that immediately raises questions about the future of the franchise, the direction of the team, and what this means for both players and fans, who have been vocal about their dissatisfaction with Quinn's leadership this season. Dan Quinn, who had been at the helm for the past few seasons, had faced criticism throughout his tenure, often finding himself in the eye of the storm due to inconsistent performances and questionable in-game decisions. Analysts have pointed to several games this season where strategic missteps seemed to cost the Commanders critical victories. And while Quinn has always had a reputation as a defensive-minded coach, the team's inability to close out games has been a persistent issue. The Dolphins game, in particular, exposed some of those vulnerabilities, with missed opportunities on both sides of the ball and a lack of cohesion that fans and insiders alike say cannot be ignored. Rumors are already swirling that internal conversations between Quinn and Harris had grown tense, with disagreements over roster management, offensive strategy, and the overall vision for the team's future reportedly coming to a head after Sunday's game. From the locker room to the front office, sources indicate that morale had been fragile for weeks. Some players, according to insiders, were increasingly frustrated by what they perceived as a lack of adaptability in Quinn's approach, especially when it came to utilizing the team's key offensive weapons. There were whispers that quarterback dynamics and play-calling disagreements had created a subtle but pervasive strain on the team's chemistry. The Dolphins' loss only amplified these concerns, serving as a vivid illustration of patterns that critics argue have defined Quinn's tenure. It's this combination of lost confidence, strategic missteps, and growing impatience from ownership that reportedly led Josh Harris to make what many are calling a bold and decisive move, one that signals a willingness to shake up the franchise in hopes of reversing a downward trajectory. The decision to release Quinn is not just a reflection of one game. It is emblematic of a larger trend that has plagued the Commanders in recent years. Despite having talented players on the roster and some promising moments, the team has struggled to maintain consistency and translate individual skill into wins. Observers point out that the Commanders' defensive unit, once a hallmark of Quinn's coaching style, has underperformed in critical moments, while the offense has at times looked disjointed and reactive rather than proactive. Fans on social media have been vocal about these struggles, with hashtags trending in support of leadership changes and speculating about potential candidates to replace Quinn. The narrative now surrounding the Commanders is one of urgency and reinvention, as Harris is widely expected to seek a coach who can instill discipline, innovation, and a renewed sense of purpose. In a franchise that has long been searching for stability, industry insiders are already buzzing about potential replacements. Names from both college and professional ranks are being floated, with speculation ranging from high-profile coordinators to rising stars from smaller programs who have shown promise in transforming underperforming teams. There's a sense that Harris is looking for someone who not only has tactical acumen, but also a strong personality capable of commanding respect in a locker room that has seen its share of turbulence. The optics of this firing suggest a desire for a cultural reset as much as a strategic shift, signaling that the new hire will be expected to redefine the team's identity and immediately raise expectations on and off the field. Some sources even hint at discussions with coaches known for aggressive offensive schemes, possibly indicating a shift in the Commanders' play style to better utilize the roster's athletic potential. Meanwhile, the ripple effects of Quinn's firing are already being felt across the NFL. Other teams are reportedly paying close attention, analyzing the circumstances that led to Harris' decision and what it might mean for their own coaching situations. It's a reminder of how high the stakes are in professional football, where a single loss can cascade into major organizational upheaval, and where ownership's tolerance for underperformance is often measured in games rather than seasons. The Dolphins' game will likely be dissected repeatedly, with commentators highlighting misreads, defensive lapses, and offensive inefficiencies as evidence of a coaching philosophy that perhaps no longer aligned with the team's ambitions. In many ways, Quinn's departure serves as a cautionary tale about the fine line coaches walk in the NFL. The margin between success and failure is razor thin, and even seasoned professionals are not immune to the pressures of a results-driven league. For the fans, the immediate reaction is a mixture of shock, hope, and skepticism. Longtime supporters of the Commanders have seen their fair share of coaching changes, some of which brought instant improvement and others that left lingering frustration. Social media is awash with debates over whether Harris acted too hastily or whether this move was overdue. Some argue that Quinn deserved more time, pointing to previous seasons where the team showed flashes of potential, while others contend that the team needed a dramatic shakeup to break free from a cycle of mediocrity. Amid the speculation, one thing is certain: The next coach will inherit a team hungry for stability, victories, and a clear vision. And every decision made in the coming weeks will be scrutinized under the harsh lens of high expectations and passionate fans. Josh Harris, for his part, has remained largely private about the decision, though sources close to the owner suggest he has been weighing options for some time. His willingness to make a mid-season change reflects both the urgency he feels and his commitment to reshaping the Commanders into a team that can consistently compete at the highest level. Industry analysts suggest that this move positions Harris as an active, hands-on owner, one who is not afraid to make tough calls in pursuit of success. The message to players, staff, and fans alike is clear: mediocrity will not be tolerated, and the bar has been raised for anyone associated with the franchise as the story develops. Speculation will continue to dominate conversations in sports media. Will the Commanders attract a big-name coach immediately? Or will they look for an up-and-comer capable of injecting fresh ideas into the locker room? How will the players respond to this sudden leadership change? And will the team be able to pivot effectively in the middle of a challenging season? These questions, though unanswered for now, are central to the drama unfolding around the franchise, keeping fans on edge and fueling endless debate. One thing is certain: the firing of Dan Quinn marks a pivotal moment for the Commanders, one that will be remembered not just for the loss to the Dolphins, but for the bold, decisive action taken by Josh Harris. The coming weeks promise to be filled with speculation, interviews, and insider leaks as the search for a new head coach intensifies, and the team charts its path forward. For now, the NFL world watches closely, waiting to see who will step into the vacuum left by Quinn, and whether this gamble by Harris will ultimately pay off in wins, culture, and the elusive quest for championship glory. In the end, this episode serves as a stark reminder of the unforgiving nature of professional football. In a league where every game is scrutinized, every decision dissected, and every loss magnified, coaches operate under relentless pressure, and owners like Harris must weigh loyalty against results. Dan Quinn's tenure, marked by flashes of brilliance and bouts of frustration, is now officially over, and the Commanders are left standing at a crossroads. The Dolphins' loss may have been the trigger, but the underlying currents of strategy, personnel decisions, and organizational philosophy set the stage for this dramatic exit as rumors continue to swirl and the search for a successor intensifies. One thing is clear: the Washington Commanders are entering a new era, and the eyes of fans, media, and the league itself are fixed squarely on what comes next. Every decision, every hire, every play in the next few games will be analyzed with the hindsight of Quinn's departure looming large over the franchise, making this one of the most intriguing, dramatic, and closely watched coaching changes in recent memory. The ripple effects will be felt for seasons to come, and the story of how the Commanders navigate this pivotal moment may very well define the legacy of Josh Harris as an owner, as well as the next chapter in the long, winding history of Washington football. Thanks for tuning into District Command Central. Make sure to subscribe and follow us for all the Commanders news you need. Until next time, keep the faith and hail to the Commanders.